my Latin resources hat off for a little while this afternoon, pop my Oar Resources hat on, and give you a bit of a talk on uranium in Brazil and in Namibia. So with Oar Resources, we're developing or putting together a package of ground that we feel is incredibly prospective. It's built on first principle geologist. I'm an exploration geologist by trade. What drives me is finding new things, and certainly Brazil, we've been very successful in doing that, and with Oar Resources we're looking to mimic that success, but in the uranium space. So phased exploration is very much how I work, so gated exploration based on success and how we do, very systematic, based on first principles geology, and that's really what's key to this, is understanding the geology of these things, getting into and getting on the ground and being able to progress them as we go forward. And obviously we have leadership experience in this part of the world. You know, Chris Gale and myself and Dave Walensky on the board, very experienced in working in and around Brazil. So I guess this is the underlying message in here. How do we get to net zero by 2050? At the moment, you can see here, there's about, over 50-odd% of energy in the world is generated from coal and oil. And unfortunately, we're not, all countries are as fortunate as Brazil to have the resources that you can use for renewable energy, such as hydro, and you can see hydropower in there doesn't equate to very much at all. But where we're focusing obviously is the nuclear energy sector, and you can see just under 4% of nuclear energy is currently generated by nuclear energy. And if we're going to transition into net zero, this bit here has to change. And again, as I said, not all countries can have the luxury of looking at things like hydro, so really the only alternative that we see is nuclear energy. At the moment, there's 440-odd operating reactors around the world. There's another 64 under construction, but there's another 430-odd that are being proposed in the process of being permitted. So what that means for uranium supply, as you can see in here, there's a massive shortfall coming. And again, if we look at if we talk about those current 4% of the world, energy is only being generated by 430. We're only looking at sort of 8%. So if we're going to really offset that 50-odd% that is coal and oil, this has to change significantly. So there's only, I guess the underlying message here is there's sustainably high uranium prices that we see going forward. So this is not just a short-term thing, it's something that's going to be going on for some time. And I guess some of the headlines around at the moment really sort of crystallise that for me. And very recently you've seen Microsoft, Google and Amazon all back in nuclear power. Some of the technologies that are out these days with AI, all the data centres, etc., these are incredibly power-hungry operations. So the only way that these companies can see that they can sustainably power that infrastructure going forward is through nuclear. So there's a massive investment coming from the big end of business into this part of the world. Small modular reactors as well coming online. This is a new technology, so these are very small. You can locate them around the place, and it's really encouraging to see Australia having a debate, maybe going to have a discussion about nuclear power. If people that know me know that I get on my high horse every now and again and start going on about nuclear power in Australia. But really importantly for us is Brazil. And you can see here they're boosting their exploration, knowing that this is a sector they want to get involved in. They're a very strong, obviously, sector now in lithium, or going to be. So looking to expand their exploration and development in Brazil. With only one operating mine in Brazil, very small at the moment, but incredibly prospective geologically for uranium. So just a very quick snapshot of who we are. Myself there as Executive Director, Chris Gale, David Walensky as well, and really happy to have Chris Weiner on board. He brings in some really strong experience in the corporate finance side of things. So really strong board in terms of operating and getting into Brazil. So where are we? So we have a couple of projects in Namibia that I'll get to. They're under application at the moment, but our main focus is in Brazil because this is the place we want to be. And although, sorry JP, we're not in Minister Rice, we are in Brazil because all of the Brazil regions I think are very prospective and certainly a really good place to be operating, and we want to leverage off our experience in working in Brazil. So 4 projects operational at the moment. We've been on ground at Aramanopolis the most. São Jose, I guess, is the second, and Tunis and Grande, we haven't been on ground yet, but we've only just now secured our land access down there, so we're all set and ready to go. But Brazil, talking about Brazil, you've heard about it before here, but it's certainly the place to be in terms of uranium reserves. It's certainly the place to be in terms of rare earths and lithium and other things. It's a great jurisdiction to work in. It's very easy to operate over there. It's very economical to operate over there. So if you know what you're doing, this is the place to be going. It's very safe, stable, it's mining friendly. And again, with 85% renewable, 90% renewable energy across the grid, and at 5 cents a kilowatt hour, it's certainly a very easy place and economically viable place to be operating. So back in August, what has been quite transitional, it's quite transformative for Oar, is we signed an MOU with INB, which is Brazil's nuclear energy department. And this was basically to a recognition from INB that they want to progress uranium exploration in the country, but they also recognise that they don't have the skill set in-house to be doing that. As I said, there's one operating mine, a uranium mine in Brazil, but no exploration per se, and certainly not by INB, which is the government body through there. So Oar has signed an agreement, an MOU with INB, which is basically to collaborate on the development and the progression of uranium projects in the country, and that's really fantastic for us. We've been on ground with the INB geologists out at a couple of our projects. They're very collaborative in how they're going to work with us, and they see that we can certainly add value to the whole business in town. So this is really good for us. And we're certainly going to be leveraging off the back of that. So as I said, 4 projects. Aramenopoulos is probably our most advanced project that we've been on. I'll get to that in just a second, but we've been on the ground doing regional exploration work. We've developed a couple of targets already, and we're about to get those drill ready. São José is the next one up to the north. These projects all, by the way, as I said, were based on first principle geology. So all of these projects sit in and around existing INB resources. A lot of that, these are from the 70s, and I said they haven't really been progressed much since then. A lot of the information is lost within the INB, and we're sort of working with them to get that back out of their system so we can use that, add it to our data sets. But these are all very close to or surrounding known uranium deposits. So this is Aramenopoulos, sort of in central Brazil. There's a deposit just sitting off to the north of this target. You can see the work that we've done here. We've gone in and done some regional mapping. We've managed to get some old geophysics out of the thing in here. And you can see we've got some nice uranium anomalies sitting within those geophysical anomalies. The white dots in here are some historic drilling that was done back in the 70s by INB, and again, that's part of this information that's been lost. So we know that there's existing uranium on the ground. We've identified it ourselves within these different geophysical anomalies that we have here, and you can see the work that we're going to do is to go in there and do some systematic soil sampling that will better define those targets. So we expect this to be drill ready by mid next year. This is the São José project. It's a bit further to the north. Esperanzas in here is a known deposit. You can see it's sitting around about, did I put the number in there, about 22 million pounds of uranium sitting in there. It's unverified because, again, all the drilling data has been lost within the INB. But I've stood on the ground at this deposit with the INB's geologists and having the scintillometer singing away. So this is a known deposit. We can see the geology through here, and we're able to track that along strike into our tenure, which surrounds that. And you can see the work that we've been doing through there in soil sampling, outcrop sampling and mapping points. So getting that base work done, very similar to what we did with Latin Resources. It's boots on ground exploration to start with, to define drill targets, and then we're going to go in and hit these again pretty hard. So really excited about this project because we can see the mineralisation really clearly at Esperanzas. We know what we're looking for, so when we go onto our own tenure, we can see that exact same geology. The Grande Uranium Project is a bit further to the south. There's another INB deposit sitting just up in here. It's about 4 kilometres away. This is a sandstone hosted mineralisation here. It's that sort of khaki yellow colour you can see in there. So again, the geology is very similar. We haven't yet been on the ground through here. We've only just secured our land access with our tenure, with our landholders through there. So we're all set, ready to go. I was hoping to get the guys on the ground at the end of this year, but I'll probably focus them on Aramenopoulos, and we'll hit this one pretty hard into January. This is a very nice area to be in. As I said, it's got known mineralisation just off to the north of this map. And the last project that we have sitting in Brazil is a rare earth project. The blue colour you can see to there is a large alkaline granite, so very similar in terms of the geological setting that we've just been hearing about. Again, we haven't been down here yet. We're just in the final throes of talking with our landholders to get access through there. We expect that to be coming through in the next couple of weeks. So this again is set for us to go into and hit the ground really hard in the new year to do our base work geology, understand where we are within the system, and then hitting this with some drilling rigs at the end of or towards the second half of next year. And the other area that we're operating is in Namibia. And again, people that know me, I've spent a lot of time in Africa, Southern Africa, South Africa, Namibia, Botswana. So again, I'm very familiar with working in this area. And Namibia is a tier 1 jurisdiction for uranium. It's a powerhouse for uranium. No, well, actually pun intended, I guess. Certainly 3 very large-scale mines sitting in there, Rosling, Langheinrich and Husab. Certainly 45 years of uranium production and export. So this is a well-established jurisdiction for uranium. Again, very clear and established mining codes. Geopolitically, it's very stable. It's very good to operate in there. And it's got a really good set of skill sets within country, geologists, drilling, etc. This is, again, one of the world leaders in mining. So operating in this part of the world is very easy. So we hold 100% interest in 2 projects. You can see them there in the yellow. They're sitting right in the heart of the main part of Namibia in terms of uranium mining. We are along strike from a number of deposits. We have the similar geology coming through. There's excellent infrastructure with large ports just nearby. As I said, these still are under application. We expect them to be granted any time now. So we'll get stuck into those as soon as we can. But when you look at them through here, you can see again the 2 projects sitting in red through there, sitting right next to Bannerman and right next to Deep Yellow. We know down here at this exploration licence through here, we have very similar geology to Deep Yellow, where we've got paleo channels with calcrete running through into those, and up here closer to Bannerman on this northern tenement, again, very similar geology. So these are all pegged and all picked up on the basis of fundamental geological inputs. So we're very pleased to be able to pick these up. This is an area that it's very difficult to secure ground, simply because it is so well known and so hot for uranium exploration. So what are we going to be doing? This is just a bit of a snapshot for you as to how we're going to be going. You can see Amaranopoulos there is our most advanced project. It's where we've been on. But that said, we've been on to, I think, 5% of that tenement, just in the top corner of the project. So we've still got a lot of work to do there. And all of this orange through here is basically our on-boots geological mapping. You can see we need to do some geophysics and soil sampling through there. So it's all about getting on the ground, doing our basic work, and getting ready to go drilling, which is where the real uplift in share price and the real uplift in what we're going to be doing happens. And you can see that's all slated for the back end of this year. I want to hit them all this year, so we've got all 6 projects slated for drilling later on in the year. Obviously this one is a little bit caveated with we need to get those tenements granted first, but as I said, we expect those to come through very soon. So all of this work is going to be happening in the next little while. Boots on ground, basic geology, systematic work to get us ready to go drilling in the back end of next year. So I guess just in summary, we've got high potential assets in a portfolio in stable jurisdictions being Brazil and Namibia. People that know me again, is my exploration is always phased. It's always based on geological knowledge, and as we expand that, we sort of gateway that with success as we move forward across, and it will be no different to how we operate or how we have operated with Latin and what we did in Brazil, but obviously in the uranium and the rare earth space. With leadership, as I said, it's very experienced in this part of the world, so looking for discoveries and obviously realising shareholder value with that. So in 10 minutes, got there in the end. That's me.